Well, welcome to the Heights Unedited podcast, which is a real conversation about real life, where we dig deeper into the weekend message as well as answering your questions on faith, culture, and life. My name is Todd, and I'm here, like always, with PJ.
Oh, man. Okay.
Is back.
That's how we started.
That's how we doing it.
So if you say welcome, welcome, welcome 3 times, is that like extra, like we are extra special welcoming you?
Yeah, like truly,
Because you see
I tell you.
doormats with welcome. Well, yeah, exactly. Truly.
Exactly. It's extra welcome for them.
Okay.
You know?
It's like a doormat. They say it 3 times on a doormat.
I hope they feel welcomed because it's Thanksgiving week right now.
I hope so.
Let's go.
Yeah.
You know what I was thinking? Since this is our special Thanksgiving episode, I just coined it that right now.
Okay, so it's a special Thanksgiving episode.
For everyone watching right now, what I wish we could have done is, you know how after the football game we're going to watch on Thursday, the winner gets their turkey dinner?
Yeah.
I wish we could be eating turkey while recording this. Yeah. Like we're just sitting out here eating while the show is going.
Have you ever been to the Renaissance Fair? And have you ever been to those?
Can't.
I've only ever been once. But my favorite part was you got this turkey leg that it's just giant, and you're just walking around the park, gnawing on a turkey leg.
See, that could have been us with the podcast.
That would have been it.
Yeah,
that would have been better than tea.
It
so there you
would
go.
have been better than tea.
Yeah.
Well, next year, take notes, David. Next year, get us a turkey,
and we get people around the table. What about that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just observers, or would they be like talking, or what?
We won't let them eat.
they don't get to. Okay, they just sit here. All right.
No, they'd be part of the pod. It'd be like a family pod.
Wow, family pod. That's That's.
There you go.
All right. Well, we are underway here.
We only have 2 mics, so I don't know what we do with that.
I don't know how that works, but welcome to everyone listening, watching. We are so grateful that you choose to spend time with us, and we're excited to hop into a couple questions that we have, as well as going over something that's been pretty awesome because we've been doing it for a long time, and we just wrapped up this last weekend. So we'll get to that in a second. But again, I want to say thank you to all of our viewers and listeners. I would love to hear your feedback through a review. See how I wove that in there?
Yeah, well done.
I'd love to hear your feedback through a 5-star review. Send us those 5-star reviews because we want to know how awesome we are.
I just like how you ask for a 5-star. You don't just stop at review.
There's no other option.
Just send us a 5-star.
Send us a 5-star.
But here's the thing: even if you don't like us as a 5-star, just write something.
Yeah, just say something. Yeah. We'll even read it on the podcast for you.
Yeah, we'll read it.
We'll let you know.
Even if it's bad, we'll read it.
We will. We'll see. We'll own it. We'll be like, these guys don't know what they're talking
real.
about.
That's what we said up top. It's real.
It's real.
And
real conversations about real life, unedited. But being Thanksgiving week, I do want to know some of your Thanksgiving traditions, things you go on do. Do you guys have any special traditions for Thanksgiving?
I'm English, man. Thanksgiving doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist.
No,
Cool.
No, I'm just kidding. So I actually love Thanksgiving, but it's not necessarily for like the traditional. Well, there's 2 parts to it. Thanksgiving for us. So we go to Cindy's families, and we've done that for years to her brothers, Johnny and Yolanda, and they do a phenomenal. Like it's my favorite time as far as food goes because they're just amazing. So.
Good
it's all the traditional.
If you go to a family member's house that isn't a good cook, but they just want to host,
when
and
she
you're
makes
like
collard greens that are like
painful,
next level.
Oh, that's good.
So it's really good. Food is always great. Conversation's always great. There's football on in the background or some sport on in the background, depending on what time and all that. So that part's always been just a special. We don't get to hang out with them a ton. Like just life doesn't allow it.
Yeah.
So it's always this like, hey, we just kind of hit this rhythm. And then the second part is Black Friday. And so for us, it's
that's
like
tradition for you, huh?
My girls are more excited about Black Friday than they are actual Thanksgiving and what Thanksgiving meal.
And Black Friday's changed so much now.
So much.
Did you guys used to line up and be like the ones there at 3 a.m. or whatever?
So when we were in Canada, it was like when Black Friday was first coming around. And so Best Buy had this. So we're at this missionary school where nobody's got any money, but everybody needs technology, right? And so those 2 things just didn't, I mean, it's easier now, but back then really didn't go together, right? So Best Buy were doing the I get a computer for $100, a laptop for $100. And so we drove from Canada to Buffalo, crossed the border.
Oh my gosh.
Got there at 11 p.m., I think it was. Stayed there all night.
Camped out.
But by the time we got there, the line was like around the building. Like,
already?
Yeah. So
And
people
what
were
was
just
the
camping
temperature
out.
though? Let's be honest.
Oh, it's freezing.
Okay. It's got to be cold.
It was so cold. And so and then what they did is they came out with like coupons. You could choose your thing. And by the time they got to us, the laptops were gone.
Oh,
so we ended up with stuff but so that's really the first time I ever got into the whole Black Friday thing was that trip. But I've never seen humans like just lose their minds.
Act like animals.
Dude, they were beasts.
Yeah.
I remember I had the old camcorder and I'm just recording people. I'm like, I don't know what I was going to make out of it and where I was going to post it. But it was like,
we need to find that footage.
This is crazy. Like people are like throwing each other down to get a big screen TV.
It's like a human experiment, right?
Yeah.
Like just
100%.
seeing how people act. They turn
100%.
into animals. And yeah, I've done the Black Friday thing.
Okay.
It's super fun. It's so different now because all the sales are online and you can.
And they start like 4 weeks in advance.
They're already going.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter.
Black
you don't have
Friday
to wait
sales,
till
like, come on.
Exactly.
So what's interesting though, so my older girls, so we carried on for years and years. Like we would leave the meal with Cindy's family and we would go shopping, right? And we would shop and then they closed at, I don't remember, like midnight or whatever, and then reopened.
Yeah.
So we did that. Our older girls loved Black Friday. They're like, that was the thing they look forward to. So last year I took the littles at because now they're not open until 5 a.m.
Yeah.
And every time we've left the house and it's dark since, they're like, this feels like Black Friday. Are we going this year? It's the dumbest thing. They got like this, the Squishmallows?
Oh yeah. My house is covered.
So they got an oversized Squishmallow for $10. And they think it's like their greatest. They're like, we're going to find more Squishmallows this year. And so anyways,
the tradition continues. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. We have a fun family tradition with our family. It switches between Thanksgiving and Christmas depending on the year, but we don't do the traditional meal. We do what we call our favorite things.
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
So each person in the house gets to pick their favorite thing and we cook
amazing.
that. And so the table is covered with all these different things. And
Like
most
what?
of the time
What kind
they
of
don't go
things?
together.
Yeah. Like what kind of
And
things?
so it changes as the kids get older, like different years. So I think just the age of my kids,
okay.
we have had mac and cheese as one of the favorite things
That's awesome.
for like the last 5-6 years.
Yeah.
Like, and as they get older, like a kid will grow out of it, but the next one's like mac and cheese. That's what I want. So one kid will just want like a plate, like a bowl full of strawberries. That's all they want is strawberries. And the next kid wants mac and cheese. The next kid's like, I want carne asada. And I'm like, heck yeah, my child.
That's awesome.
And then, so it's just the table doesn't make sense. One of my kids, inevitably, every single year, she will choose sushi.
Oh, wow.
So we will have, that's how random
That's
this table
awesome.
is, but it's our favorite things. We do that meal. If we
do you make it or do you go pick it up or what do you?
Well,
because that's
depending
also
on
random.
stuff. Yeah, so sushi we'll pick it up somewhere, but other stuff, we'll make whatever they.
And so like anybody at your table gets they
get to pick favorite things. Yeah, we've done it before with like in-laws over and things like that where they've picked their favorite thing too. If we go somewhere or if we have more than just close people that we know over, we'll do like traditional Thanksgiving, but and
which
then
your kids are like,
switch
boo.
that. Yeah, they're like, boo. But we'll see this year. So this year, my 2 older daughters, they get the full spectrum of braces on the day before Thanksgiving. So tomorrow they're going to be getting this all fitted and put on. And so my wife is like, we're doing soup. And I'm like, oh, we're not doing soup. They can do soup, but I'm not doing soup.
You're like, I get their picks.
Yeah. So we'll see. This year it could be a little different. Their favorite thing maybe is soup.
How did it start? Where did it start?
I don't even remember
such a
how
good
it started.
tradition.
Yeah, I think it just started with my wife going, I don't know if I want to do a regular Thanksgiving.
Which is fair.
And the truth is I love a Thanksgiving meal. I'm a food guy. I love any food. Yeah. But the kids at that age, they don't really care too much about, I want turkey and green bean casserole. And like, so they're
like, where's the normal food?
Yeah, we're like, they're not going to eat it anyway. So let's go with something else. And so we all just say, well, what would you want? What would you want? Cool. And then that's how it came about. But yeah.
I feel like people should tell us theirs, like comment or review, or I don't know how you get it to us, but.
Well, you can email any of your questions to unedited@heightschurch.com. See,
that was like a commercial.
It was like an ad, right? Just throw it in. I thought it was smooth, but maybe not.
It reminds me of a podcast I listened to that they always like, say it on 3 now, ads suck.
Well, that was your ad right there.
There you go.
But you could let us know that way. Thanksgiving, though, isn't just about the food. It's also about football. No, I was gonna try to get us serious there, but I do have to tell a quick football story, and then I do have a serious question for you about that. But
you gotta have football. It's Thanksgiving.
You do, and that's what I watch football all day on Thanksgiving. But 2 years ago, Heights did a like flag football game, and so I don't know how many guys showed up. It was like through men's ministry, whatever guys want to come out, and so I think there was probably, I don't know, 25 guys or so. And so if you don't know, Pastor Jordan, our kids pastor, was a quarterback in college. And so I'm like, I want him on my team right away. The guy lasted 2 plays before he hurt his knee and he was out. Like he was out. I'm like, what is going on here? And, but the real game was not just the football game, is Pastor Ben was on the other team and him and I were covering each other the whole time.
There you go.
And we were going back and forth, and we kind of made a couple jokes that like everyone else can play flag, but we're playing tackle. And so we were like extra rough with one another. And then Ben decided to absolutely lay me out. Like, I mean, knock my shoes off, lay me out.
Oh.
And he tackled me like I wasn't, out of shape
Full
old
tackle,
man.
full tackle, no pads.
So yeah, it was awesome. I was incredibly sore for way too long.
Did he play football?
I don't know. I think he played in high school. Yeah,
which doesn't help because then he knows how to hit you.
And he's a strong guy. I mean, he works out all the time. It was fun, but
unlike the rest of the world.
Yeah, unlike me. I mean, I eat. So yeah. I do want to get a little bit serious here, though. I know that God has been talking to you and teaching you about gratitude, this idea of gratitude, this idea, on Thanksgiving, food, football, all this stuff. But like Thanksgiving is an opportunity to reflect and just, talk to us a little bit about what God's been teaching you when it comes to gratitude. Yeah,
I think for me, there's 2 things come to mind. One is there's this phrase that's kind of formulated. It started in, I've got a devotional I try and sit down most mornings and I'm going back through it a second time, which I've never done before, but I'm doing it intentionally to slow down and write in it. And this phrase of anything I get to do is only because he's already given everything.
That's
right.
Good.
And so it's just this idea of like anything at all. And so I've been on like this spider web spiral type thing going, okay, I'm going to test this to the nth degree. Right. So an example would be making bread, right? I go into the food pantry and take out flour. Well, where'd the flour come from, right? And just start tracing back all of the things that God had to provide. So an example would be the store to buy it, the people that work in the store, the people that put it on the shelf, right? And then you go back to, okay, it had to be delivered. Well, somebody had to drive it to that location, right? So then God had to provide trucks, gas, tire. Like you can spiderweb down to the smallest thing, which I've done. But then you keep going back further. Like God had to provide a field. God had to provide rain. God had to provide somebody to work the field. And this is just one thing, flour, right? Like, and bread's the most simple form of anything you make. It's just, water and salt essentially, right? And the flour. And time and air. And so it's like all those things, though, God had to provide each one of those intricately to even just make a loaf of bread.
Yeah.
And so it's just been tracing back, like going, it just gives me such gratitude for God's provision in things I never think of, simply because I go, anything I get to do. Like, and then you grow up from that, right? Like I get to tuck my kids in last night. Well, that spider web of everything God has given for the ability to tuck your kids in, right? Like from the fact that you even have kids, to warm beds, to sheets, to, like God providing, heated blankets at this time of year. And so it's just been this really cool slowing down to go, man, God, anything I get to do, anything at all is only because you've already given.
Yeah.
And that to me then hits that gratitude nerve pretty heavily.
Yeah, and it's the opposite of taking for granted, which is what we do.
Yeah.
Everything we do is taken for granted, which is removing God from the picture instead of highlighting God in the picture, which is it's beautiful. Well, I mean, and our hope for all of us is that we can do that, not just at Thanksgiving, but anytime that we can really be grateful for what God has given us and not just take it for granted with it. All right, well, if you were with us this last weekend, we wrapped up a collection of talks that started on February 18th, 273 days ago. We started this journey.
I love that
just
you
a quick little 39-week collection of talks.
Just a quick one.
But man, it has been a journey for real.
It's been amazing.
It has been so exciting to look at Jesus as the center of all things and to see him from beginning of scriptures all the way through the Bible. To wrapping up in Revelation and looking at glorification in heaven and what that's going to be like as well, which is just incredible. But as we reflect on that, not just this last weekend, but this entire collection over the last 273 days, what
emphasis on the 273?
I mean, that's a lot right there. And I did my research to know that, so I had to incorporate it. But what has been your favorite part of this collection?
Oh, I don't know if I can pick a favorite part. I think if I had to say anything, it's not any given like conversation, not any given message, not any given. It's more the concept of Jesus being the center, right? Like even seeing this last week, Jesus is the center forever. Like it doesn't change. So you go all the way back to the beginning, like you were saying. In the beginning was God, right? That idea of beginning, the name that God uses at the end is I am the beginning and the end.
Yeah.
So in the Jesus, God was creating, right? Like so
and I looked back at what the first week was, and that was the message.
Yeah.
Like it was created by Jesus for Jesus. But I'm like, oh, and here we are at the end, same story.
It's the same thing. And so what we had this past week was now he's creating new heavens, new earth, right? And a normal story arc is you have a beginning and an end. Well, we have an end that's a beginning.
Ooh.
And so it's just like crazy. And then in the center of that is Jesus.
Yeah.
Forever in relationship.
With everything created.
Happy to be with us.
And crafted to reflect Jesus.
Yeah. And so I think that's probably my favorite part has been just a reawakening in me. Like it's stuff right? Like if we would have sat down and had an intellectual conversation, I know all that. Like I could tell you Jesus is the center, but I feel like for the church family, this has been such a, hey, if Jesus is not the center, you're in trouble.
And I think being as normal human as we all are, it takes us a lot to get the point of something. So I think that the 273 days starting on February 18th of talking about the same thing every single week and seeing it throughout has helped get it into my head personally, where my walk has had to be refocused on Jesus as the center multiple times, but it's become part of my thought process now. I do something, I think something happens, and I'm like, wow, is Jesus the center? And I'm bringing it back. And it's, because of this idea that we've been diving into for so long that I'm actually able to go, is Jesus the center of my parenting, of my marriage, of my everything? Which has been
I'll never
really
look
awesome.
At a record the same again. Like I just saw somebody on our church team was selling a turntable.
Yeah.
And instantly my brain goes straight to Jesus is the center, right? Like it's just, I'll never look at it the same. But what about you? I mean, you were a part of it. What's your favorite?
Yeah, I was extremely privileged to be able to teach 6 times over this last 273 days. And man, each one of those is just so, I think for me is the Old Testament piece of it. And I've always grew up under the context of Jesus was reserved for the New Testament. Old Testament was, he wasn't here yet. It is all for Jesus and about Jesus. And so picking him out of these things, whether it's the concept of sacrificial death, whether it's, just understanding any of that was just amazing. So being able to teach some of those Old Testament passages with Jesus at the center was reframing for me. And it was just a lot of fun to not only teach it, but to do the work before I taught it and learn for myself on a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, it's funny you say the work. I think that's been, as a communicator, I think that's been life-giving, is to challenge. Like, it would have been easier to just we did 3 weeks in the sacrificial, so it would have been easier to go, we'll just do a week and roll. But to actually intentionally go, we're going to slow down and we're going to do the hard work of making it relevant. Because you can teach it. I mean, you said it so well. So many times in teaching prep, you're like, this is a whatever level class at whatever you know what I mean? Like, and to take it and go, no, we're going to put it into a room where you've got students in the front row, and on the right side you've got a recovery home, and in the middle you've got people whose Bibles are worn out, they've been in them so long, and like it just to take it and make it relevant, I think has been probably one of the, as a communicator, probably one of the funnest parts.
Yeah, so fun. And a peek behind the curtain of how the machine works here, the perfectly oiled machine, is John will usually come to me and go, hey, Todd, can you teach this weekend coming up whenever? And I go, sure, that'd be awesome. What's the topic? And I'm thinking this, and he'll throw something out. And every time he would say it, my first thought was going, how in the world am I supposed to find Jesus in that? And then begin the journey of working through it. And that was, again, the fun part was going, man, I found Jesus in a place where I thought, there's no way. In that story, how do you find Jesus in that?
Yeah.
And to continually be able to do that was super good. I think tacked onto that, for you, what was the most challenging part of teaching through this collection?
I would definitely say there's some that it's so obvious, right? Like Noah and the ark, and you got one door. Like, it's such a clear picture. But I think, like you just said, there's some where I know Jesus is here. I know this is a picture of it. I can give you the intellectual, it's a picture of it. But what, and you're so good at that, what difference does it make to my life? Right? So not just, hey, we taught something, I thought it was really cool, like, and interesting, but actually going, what difference does this make to somebody's life when you are deep into the sacrificial system? Or, some of the other ones. I mean, you had one where it was, hey, just take the final greetings, all the random people, and talk about them. I think it's those. That's probably been, and then I've even said it over the last few weeks that, teaching Revelation, it's always been something that, yes, it's absolutely relevant. How does it fit for the whole church? Well, in that context I was just talking about, where everything is so wide and varied, and watching over the last few weeks, people engage at a deep level with something that is really hard to grasp, and yet not feeling like, man, half the room was in and half the room was lost, or half the church got it and the other. So I think that's probably the challenge of that, is probably one of the parts that I go, man, this was really good. And then I think anytime we make Jesus more real and more personable and creates that love relationship for people, that's the best, man.
Yeah.
It's the best.
So good. So challenging. So challenging personally, and challenging like for the whole church to continue to make Jesus the center, which sounds simple. It's not. Yeah. And there's so many contexts of your life where Jesus gets out of being the center and you have to refocus. So coming out of a collection of talks that's been so long, what is next for us? What can our viewers and listeners look forward to starting this week?
This weekend we have Advent, and specifically we're taking a different kind of look at Advent. So there was something we talked about on our offsite as staff. It comes from a book, The Other Half of Church, but it's the idea of attachment to Jesus, not what do I know? And so it's talking about the brain, and we don't have time to get into all that, but one of the ideas is a nutrient that needs to be in the soil of your life and helps develop attachment to Jesus is joy. And so obviously I think you Did you speak on joy last year?
One of the last 3 years.
Yeah. So one of them, there's only 4 topics. One of them.
I think I've gotten almost all of them at this point.
But I think that idea of joy, as explained in that book, is that, God is so happy to be with us, right? That he's happy to be with me. And that idea of his face being towards me creates joy. And so we're just going to hit that. We're actually calling the collection Happy to Be. And just that idea that God is happy to be with you. And that then shows up in the different aspects of Advent. So
boom. Excited for that. And you should be too. Super excited about just everything that God is going to do in this season. Christmas is one of the exciting times of year and crazy hectic times of year. So time you get to slow down and focus on the things that really matter during this season. So I'm excited for that. We do have a couple questions that we want to answer here for you right now. First question.
How do you submit a question?
Oh, you know what? I'm so glad you asked. If you would like to submit a question, we would love to answer your question about faith, culture, life, anything you want to ask. And you can submit that by emailing unedited@heightschurch.com. It's commercial break.
Hey, that worked.
Sponsored by.
It's not a commercial because commercials suck. So
that's true. Yep. We all need to say that together. All right. We do have a question though, and everyone asks this. Not a specific person asked this.
Everyone.
I'm just generalizing because everyone's asking, John, how do I deal with my frustrating, annoying, fill in the blank relative this Thanksgiving? All right. We're about to sit down at a table with people that can get under our skin. So I think really I'm asking, how do I respond in love when I have a disagreement with someone?
Oh man. We have time to
I know. We got to give them that.
You know what?
People are listening in the car right now, driving to a relative's house.
Annoying,
and they're like, give
annoying,
me the answer
frustrating,
right
fill in
now.
the blank.
Yeah, they're like, I need this answer right now. Is never more timely.
I think keep Jesus at the center.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. No, I think it is remember who you are. Remember there's a bigger fight. Mm-hmm. I can remember years ago, we got together as a family on my side. I mean, this is years and years ago. And behaviors that were in my teens showed up in, I think I was late 20s at that point. And I remember my older brother looking at me and just going, like, I was super annoyed, super hurt. We'd had the same stupid fight about nothing that mattered. He'd wound me up. Like it was just one of those like family things, right? And I just remember being so mad that this never happens in any other place in my life, except for when I would get with my family. And so he came alongside and he referenced like, this is just behavior that we've dragged forward from the past into this. And so what I had to do is start reminding myself, like, that's not who I am. Like I don't respond that way in my life. I don't want to be that person, right? That used to be angry in my teens and flare up, and like I just don't want to be that. And so for me, it really became an opportunity to walk with God into those moments going, hey, I don't have to respond. I don't have to react. I get to choose what I do in this moment. They can be as annoying as they want, and I can leave filling in the blank of what I think they are, right? But I have a choice what I do with it. And so for me, going back and going, my faith is bigger than this moment. And so it really became a walk with God of like, okay, Holy Spirit, will you make me sensitive to you? Will you make me care about the things in the conversations that, because I don't know how it is for you, but sometimes I feel like we get stuck in the same loop of conversation even at different family functions where, man, I really want to know if I was sitting with you, I'd really want to know, how are you doing? Like, how's Rachel doing? How are the kids? What? And yet with family, it's almost like we don't get into those conversations for some reason. So it stays on this superficial wind you up. You know? So I think it's really an opportunity to go, okay, Holy Spirit, first of all, in me, will you settle me and will you keep me true to who I am? And then second, and that's kind of what you're getting at, is how do I respond then when the disagreement, I just step away. Like I don't need to answer it. I don't need to solve this. I don't need to prove I'm right. I don't need to, and some of that, I mean, depends on your personality. That feels like a loss, right? And you just, okay, taking an L if that's the case.
Yeah.
Because you maintain the relationship. So it's like, do I want to be calling back in 20 minutes to go, man, I'm so sorry. That's so stupid that we argued about,
Or keeping it as a grudge till the next Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Or it just builds, right? And then you're like, I don't even want to go back anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say what you said about invoking the Holy Spirit's help and making that prayer happen before you get there. Because I think the posture to which you walk in is one that carries it out, right? So if you're going to go, if I'm going to go play baseball, I'm going to get dressed for baseball, knowing that baseball is going to happen. Yeah, I think sometimes we get dressed for a confrontation, an argument, or disagreement before it even happens. Yeah. And when you look for it, you're most likely going to find it. Yeah. But when you go in with the posture of already praying and going, God, soften my heart, allow me to be, someone that reflects you in my interactions and to handle this situation well. Now you go in looking to handle the situation well instead of winding yourself up for the fight.
Yeah, because I think what's so good about that is if I go in if I go in and I'm filling in the blank with names, right? Then I've already named what I think they will be. Yeah. They open the door and the first thing they say is annoying. Instantly what's happened inside of me, right? Instantly I've gone, hey, that just proved me right. Right. And it's only downhill from there because now I'm looking for every single thing versus like you just said, going and dressed differently. That's amazing.
Yeah. I think the other thing, we tell our kids a lot of advice that we don't take for ourselves, And so like one of the things I always tell my kids, like, what can you control? Can you control what someone else does? Right. No. Well, how can you control how you respond? Yes. We forget that. It goes out the window when we show up. But I think it's a good reminder for us too, is like, you can only control how you respond. People are going to be people.
My brother can wind me up quicker about sports. It's the stupidest thing. He'll just throw out like either a game that happened or his team's ahead in the table right now in English soccer right now. I can guarantee you any one of my family, because they all support the same team, can wind me up quicker. And it's the stupidest. It's like, it doesn't matter. It does not matter in this moment. But anyways, for whatever reason,
it does. It works.
Sports can just wind
you
every time.
It gets you. All right. One more question for us before we let everyone continue on with their week and head into their Thanksgiving meals wherever they're at. Sarah asks, a submitted question that we have: I have recently had to give some long overdue forgiveness. I had to work through a lot of things to forgive, but now I don't know how to interact with that person. How much should I interact with them? We are both part of the church, so I have to see them often, but I'm struggling.
There's a lot of real in that. Yeah. Right. There's a lot of that. First of all, I think, Sarah, if you're listening, like, well done noticing that, hey, I've got forgiveness, which means you're holding unforgiveness, right? Like, it's not, I think that's what's interesting with that piece of it. It's not I'm completely free and clear or whatever. No, I'm holding unforgiveness. And so giving this overdue forgiveness is actually releasing. And so well done on that. I mean, that's a work of the heart for sure. And I think just I don't know how you feel about this, but like for me, forgiveness doesn't mean I've just blank slated everything and now you get this free, clear access to everything just like it used to be, right? Like, I can forgive somebody.
You have to protect yourself.
Yeah. I can forgive somebody fully and still know that interaction won't ever go back to what it was. And within that, to me, that's actually healthy. Like, I've set boundaries to go, hey, I fully forgive you. I have nothing against you. I will still be cordial and whatever that looks like. But it's not going to go back to whatever, for Sarah, whatever that relationship was, the level of intimacy is not going to go back. Right. And that's okay. Like, sometimes I think we get in this weird biblical, well, if you forgive me, Todd, then that means you're going to invite me over for this, and we're going to go back to exactly how we were. And if the pain is genuine and you've done the work of healing, then what also comes with that is there's healthy boundaries that come with it for the sake of what God's doing in you and in them. And so, I don't.
Yeah. And I would say too, forgiveness is not a one and done. It's a one and done and getting to a point of going, man, I'm going to forgive them and releasing it. Yeah. But but it's something you have to constantly remind yourself of, because for me, at least, when I see somebody even online that I'm like, I see a picture of them, those feelings of what they've done to me bubble up, and I have to stop and go, I've chosen to forgive.
Yeah.
And I have to remind myself of that in order to move forward.
Yeah.
And not move forward with a relationship with them like it was before. Like you said, you still have boundaries in place, but remind yourself, I've chosen to forgive. I've released that. Yeah. So we're moving forward with new rules to moving forward. Yeah. But we are moving forward. So Sarah, I would say for you, how much should you interact with them? I don't think you have to go out of your way to put yourself in a place where you are continually being hurt or may even bring those feelings back up in a strong way. But when you see them, it's an opportunity to remind yourself that you've forgiven, and remind yourself even the forgiveness that you've received, which is why you can forgive.
Yeah. And I think it's be normal, right? Like in the sense of, who has God made you to be? How would you be with someone else? Well, you're probably cordial towards them. You probably want the best for them. Can you be that towards them? That doesn't mean that now you go out of like you're saying, you don't go out of your way to find them and have that. We live in a small town. So if we're going to be real, here we go.
You're going to see them. It's going to happen.
We live in a small town. You're going to go to Walmart and you're going to end up on the same aisle.
Yep.
Right? Like, and I've been, because I've lived here long enough, where people take their shopping cart and turn back around and go around the other side. And it's like, okay, that's the weirdest. Like, and I was like, I mean, I've said this before from stage, but we're going to be in eternity together. Right. Like, and so just that idea of like, if we can't even be cordial here, good luck in heaven. Right. Yeah. Like, and so just, I think the other piece of that is, within the, like, reminding yourself of what really matters. And if this is a hindrance to your walk with God, then deal with it. But if it's like, if you're at a place that you're truly healthy, then now what can I do for them? And this is where God's got me, right? So like I said, a small town, lived here long enough. There are certain cars, there are certain buildings that hold memories for me. And they're memories of being hurt. And what happens to me is God's got me in this, can I pray blessing over those people? And I don't even interact with them anymore. Now, if I saw them, would be cordial, whatever. But it's that, okay, can it go from this part to going, okay, God, how do you want to use me now to, can I get to a point of praying for them and blessing them and whatever. So
yeah, sounds good. Easier said than done. So Sarah, I know that's a lot.
Especially if you're sitting around a Thanksgiving table,
right? With the person that you need to, you've done that. So it real life, but hey, that's what we're here for, is talk about real life, real conversations. And so I just want to say congrats, because anyone still listening, you've made it to the end of the podcast club.
What do you got?
We're just going to, can we record you doing that and then play it through him, so you don't have to say it, but it's still played?
That's what plays.
You have made it to the end of the podcast club, and we're excited.
Just make David come over here and do it into the mic one time. I think that,
or he could get his own mic over there.
You know how quick he would get it. You know how quick he would get a sound if we made him come over and do it.
True. That's manipulation at its finest. Good old PJ over here coming in with the good ideas.
Papa John's.
We're so excited though that you made it to the end of the podcast club. Congratulations for that. Final thought for you before we head out. As we wrapped up Center of All Things, remember Jesus is the center of all things, and he needs to be the center of all things in your life as well. If you have any questions, please go ahead and submit those. Rate, review, share, let your friends, neighbors, in-laws, I don't know, let someone know about this podcast.
Whoever you're at Thanksgiving with.
Oh yeah, talk about it at Thanksgiving. Know. Spread the word. There you go.
Talk about something you heard.
Talk about it there.
Yeah, there you go.
Avoid the fights.
Yeah.
Just talk about that. And you can build this as a lot of things. It's kind of a sports podcast sometimes. It's kind of,
or if you want to be super passive aggressive because everyone asked the first question, you just play it for them. Everyone's asking.
Hey, everyone's asking. And then play them a clip of what we just what we just did. All right.
So
We're
bad.
losing it. We're losing ourselves here. We're losing the show. But thank you guys so much for being with us. We will see you back here, same place next week. Love you. Bye.
Love you guys.